Hello, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome indeed to today's iOB business webinar. Today, we're going to be running through how to sign clients as a digital agency in 2021. And one of the biggest and most exciting topics that we can talk about in today's world of being an owner of a digital agency or a future and prospective owner of a digital agency. Wonderful business to be in. And today I really want to share some huge value with you on how you in the current day can sign clients as a digital agency owner in 2021. Okay, so if you're new to joining us today, the way that these webinars usually run is we cover about 15 to 20-minute presentation, and at the end we do drop in a little Q&A as well. So if you do have any questions throughout today's webinar session, please do pop them in the Q&A box. There should be a green or gray box at the bottom of your screen, and it should allow you to ask questions and interact and look at any ways in which you could ask questions throughout the presentation, and I will endeavor to get to them at the end for you. So I'm just going to give it a minute or two whilst other people are joining us today. To those of you that are already with us, a very warm welcome. If you didn't hear me earlier, we're going to be talking about how to sign clients as a digital agency in 2021. So a very, very cool topic we're going to be talking about today. As always, very much looking forward to speaking with you today. Thank you so much for taking the time and effort to be with us. Just before we go ahead, I'm going to set up the presentation on screen just now. What we're going to be covering is how to sign clients as a digital agency owner in 2021. So, perfect. Thank you very much for letting me know that you can hear me, Brian. Pleasure to speak with you today. And without further ado, we will get started. So give me one moment here, and I'm going to switch off my camera. As I said, just finally, before we begin, if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please do pop them into the Q&A box, and I will get to them at the end. So let's talk. How to sign clients as a digital agency owner in 2021. Okay, so what we're going to be discussing today is a very, very big topic in the digital agency world today. My name is Ben. I'm going to be running the presentation for you today. I'm a business coach, and I specialize in working with small businesses and helping them achieve stability and growth. This is my day in, my day out, and my true passion. So it's a real privilege to speak with you today, and it's a real privilege to share all of the content that I have lined up for you in today's presentation. We're going to be covering, number one, understanding the service that you offer, okay? A massive, massive piece in understanding who you are as a digital agency and how you can sell, okay? Number two, correlating this with market demand. We must know who that we can sell to in order to sell our product or offer effectively. And number three, we're going to be talking about acquiring the meeting and closing the client, okay? So, carrying on, understanding the service you offer, okay? First things first, your cash flow necessity. This is the very first fundamental component that you must begin to understand. Okay, your cash flow necessity is the root of your affordability and your longevity as a digital agency owner. Your cash flow necessity means the amount that you earn per month or on a regular basis. And first, we must establish this. So by understanding the service that you offer, of course, we'll cover many other components, but the very first place to start is establish how much financial income you actually need. All right, so we're going to cover a lot of content today, and this is the first place we're going to start. Your cash flow necessity can come from a root of many things. The core components we're going to work through today, okay? Let's establish your cash flow necessity from one point of view. Now, this, in a nutshell, is how much money you must earn on a monthly basis in order to effectively, comfortably support yourself and your business, all right? So some people establish their cash flow necessity from a previous job or a current job. Let's say, for example, they earn £3,000 a month. All right. So in the digital agency, understanding the cash flow necessity would begin from here. They would begin to learn that in order to run and effectively move into being a full-time digital agency owner, they would have to earn at least £3,000 a month. Okay. So this is a starting foundation for many. Now, some may be looking as a sideline income or as a part-time income until they eventually develop and move out with their job, and others may actually need it for other reasons. So if you have an essential need of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 or beyond per month, you must first calculate this. So when you are doing your calculation of understanding the service that you offer, please begin with cash flow necessity, okay? Now, second thing we're going to talk about today, behind your cash flow necessity, your skill set and your passion. All right, now these apply massively to the service that you offer, because they are so relevant when it comes to the service you provide. Your skill set is a foundational component on which you begin offering things to your prospective or future clients. Okay, so your skill set may stem from potentially marketing experience in a previous job role, potentially something that you've studied over time, you have talent, skill, or expertise in a certain area, or it's just something that you really, really enjoy. Therefore, it has become a natural skill set. Now, of course, being a digital agency owner, your skill set must be applicable to this digital agency world. You must be able to sell it effectively and support it effectively to your upcoming clients you will gain in the future. All right, so your skill set really does form one of the basic foundations of understanding the service that you offer. Now, this could be something like paid advertising. It could be something like search engine optimization. It could be something such as website development. If you have an existing skill set, fantastic, wonderful. If not, within this iOB business, we offer a variety of learning and areas where you can build your expertise in varying skill sets. You can also educate yourself. You can learn new courses. You can visit something such as the Google Academy. There's a Facebook Academy. You can develop skill sets as you go along. But please understand that before you can develop a service that you can offer, you must have a very, very substantial skill set in that area first. Okay? And let's skip over from skill set for a second and focus on passion. Okay? Now, in an ideal world, we want to love what we do. We want to love what we do on a daily basis. We enjoy what we do, and our clients enjoy the work that we give to them. All right, so your passion, let's talk about that. Okay, an interesting topic. And whilst it may not stem directly from the work that you do, you may enjoy the outcome of the work that you do, and therefore that would then become your passion. All right, so if your passion is seeing a smile on a client's face and helping them grow their business, helping them get more clients, for example, your passion would correlate with this. Now we have to look at the skill set or the necessity to how we get to this achieved outcome, where our passion lays. So let's take paid advertising, for example. A direct result of paid advertising, if done effectively, is that the business will grow, the business will gain clients, and therefore there will be a smile on your client's face. Therefore, the passion may not lie exactly in paid advertising, but it is the necessary vehicle to carry us towards the passion and fulfillment that we get from work. So once we understand how much cash flow we need on a regular basis, once we understand our skill set, whether we already have it or whether we're going to develop it and grow it, and then we can combine this with our passion, whether the passion be for the service itself, whether we love paid advertising, we just love the analytical data, we love the reviews that we have to put into it, or we love the outcome that it brings, okay? Smile on faces, fulfillment, light bulb moments, all of these things. These are things that you must consider as the service that you begin to offer, all right? Now, let's talk about core offerings. Your core offerings are the basic essentials that you offer to your clients as a digital agency. Now, a good rule of thumb here is to stick to 1 to 3 core offerings, okay? Now, your offerings are services that you sell to your clients. Now, we don't want to have too many of these because we could confuse ourselves, we could confuse our clients, and our clients may actually become under the impression that we don't actually have a niche because we're offering so many different things. So a very good rule of thumb from your organizational point of view and from their understanding is to have 1 to 3 core offerings as a digital agency. Now, for example, this might be paid advertising, this might be search engine optimization, and this might be website development. It's up to you how you decide to divide this in line with your skill set and your passion and your cash flow necessity. Okay, but your core offerings as a digital agency, you must first understand to have between 1 and 3. You must first analyze your skill set and your passion, and then you can develop your 1 to 3 core offerings as a result of this. Okay, now next up, of course, we have your pricing structure. Now, this ties in heavily with your cash flow necessity, because in order to understand how much we must charge for each service offering that we have between 1 and 3, and the prospective clients that this would fit in well with, we need to understand how many we need to sell. Okay, so let's just say for round numbers, we have a paid advertising service that runs at £100 a month. Now, this is particularly cheap, and I wouldn't advise that you do this, but let's just say, for example's sake, you offer a paid advertising service at £100 a month, okay? This is one of your core offerings. Now, if your cash flow necessity is £1,000, you must calculate that you need to sell 10 offers worth of paid advertising at £100 per month each in order to achieve the £1,000. Just by simple maths, we need to earn £1,000 a month. Therefore, we must sell 10 offerings worth £100 a month every single month. Okay. Now, whether this be from residual clients or whether this be from new clients, again, it's another rabbit hole that we can delve down. But in essence, your pricing structure must directly correlate with your cash flow necessity and the skill set provided. All right. So something in a particular area of expertise may garner more financial income than something that doesn't require an awful lot of expertise. Okay. So finally, finishing up with balancing your workload. Okay. Now, understanding the service that you offer, you must also understand how much time it takes you to deliver said service. So with balancing your workload, if a service takes us, say in an average working week, we have 40 hours. Let's just stick with that basic logic, okay? Now, when it comes to balancing our workload, we must also take into account our pricing structure, our cash flow necessity, the final component of which being our workload, okay? So say, for example, that we have 40 working hours in a week, and in order to deliver one service, it takes us 10 hours per week. This is one service for one client. So that would allow us for maximum of 4 clients per week, and therefore a maximum of 4 clients per month, because this is a weekly commitment. Now, in order to reach our £1,000 cash flow necessity, if we have an absolute maximum capacity of 4 clients, then we must charge enough to make sure that we're reaching that £1,000 a month. So understanding the service that you offer comes down to a number of things: your cash flow necessity, analyzing your skill set and how that can correlate with your passion, your core offerings as a digital agency, your pricing structure, how much you must charge to achieve your cash flow necessity, and balancing your workload. Okay, now we must make sure that we have enough time to complete each service in order to earn our overall cash flow necessity. Now, I do understand that this is a lot to take in all at one go, so please take the time to absorb it. I'm going to give you a brief moment before we move on to the next topic here, and we'll just absorb the content and take into account the pricing structure, the fees, and how that ties in with our overall cash flow necessity. Okay, so like I said, if you do have any questions on this, please do pop them into the Q&A box. It should be gray or green at the bottom of your screen there, and I can get to that at the Q&A session at the end of today's session. All right, so I am just going to double check that everyone can still hear us okay, everyone can still see us okay, and it seems that we are doing very, very well. So that is excellent. Okay, now moving on. Correlating with this market demand, correlating this with market demand. Okay, so now that we understand on an overview what our kind of service offerings can be, and the type of money that we need to charge for them in line with our workload and in line with our cash flow necessities, we now need to begin looking at who we can actually sell this to. Okay, correlating our service with market demand. That's very, very, very interesting topic. Okay, so the first thing we can look at doing is assessing pockets of opportunity within the market. Okay, now when it comes to assessing pockets of opportunity within the market, as a digital agency, we need to begin to analyze the most in-demand services. Okay, where does the opportunity lay within the market? And one of the easiest ways to analyze this is by having a quick look at what your competitors do and anybody relevant in your field, and also analyzing further opportunity past this. If you feel like you have a particular skill set, you have a particular ability that would be useful to businesses, you can begin to analyze within yourself, what actually could I do with this service offering that would make a significant change to a prospective client or business? Okay, so when we begin assessing pockets of opportunity within the market, there's multiple ways in which we can do this, but the most important thing I want you to remember from this little segment is that you can analyze the market as far and as deeply as you feel necessary in order to correlate it with your service. Okay, now one of the easiest ways to do this is analyze businesses that have already pre-existing kind of service offerings from other agencies, and look at ones such as paid advertising, search engine optimization, website development, all the things that they utilize as a business. This would be a pocket of opportunity for you as well. Okay, now next thing to consider is the affordability within your market. All right, so this again directly correlates with our service offering and the financial structure that we put around it. And in very, very simple terms, assessing the affordability of your market is, can they afford what it is that we have to offer? Does the business earn enough money to support our service? Because the thing is, when it comes to establishing our target market, it's very, very important that we first understand the opportunity within the target market and see if there's an area for us to delve into where we could begin selling our service. But not only this, can they actually afford what it is that we have to offer? All right, so a very, very simple example of this is, let's just refer back to our example of £100 per month paid advertising service, which is very, very cheap, I must reiterate again. But in this particular purely example context, all right, we're looking at businesses that could afford this £100 a month. All right, now that would be many, few and far between. There's really no limit to what businesses can afford in terms of this £100 paid advertising. Okay, now if we're looking at something more expensive, let's say that this paid advertising service now costs £500 a month. All right, our target market is getting considerably smaller. Okay, because all of a sudden we've introduced a more expensive service, and therefore we will need businesses that have significantly more income in order to afford our service, right? So something like paid advertising almost always does, if done in the correct manner, have a reward on the other side. You invest, which carries risk, and then you take on the reward, which is usually new clients. All right, so risk and reward. Now, the business must have the money in the first place to risk the investment to get the reward. So that being said, let's just take our clean example of £500 a month paid advertising service. A business that is earning, like, say, £1,000 a month or less is unlikely to be able to dedicate half of their workload and half of their pricing and everything else that comes with earning their money over to paid advertising with you in order to invest this money, right? They just simply don't have it. If the money isn't there, they cannot invest it. So we must begin to look at bigger businesses that can begin affording this type of service. All right, so assess the affordability of your market very carefully and understand, okay, so if your ideal target is individual entrepreneurs who earn between 0 and 20,000 a year, then a £500 paid advertising service probably isn't the right one for them. You probably need to look at offering a cheaper service, okay? Next up, we have demographics of businesses likely to purchase your offer. So this is again assessing market demand. Assess the demographics of a business likely to purchase your offer. So of course that includes financial, but it also includes geographical location. Is your service something that could be nationwide, or is it something that could be local? Is it something that has to be local? Okay, so take this into account when assessing the demographics of businesses likely to purchase your offer. We can do age, gender, preferences, interests, geographical location, all kinds of different things. The most important ones to take into account here are financial and geographical. All right, if you can understand first, is the service that you intend to offer in line with your skill set, your passion, your financial demands? Can this be a service that can be introduced nationwide? Is it something that can be introduced even globally? Or is it something that you're restricted to your local area with? All right, so very, very important to take note of. Demographics of businesses likely to purchase your offer. Next up, we have your segue into a conversation about your offering. Now, it's very important to consider what is your strategy for this, okay? Because of course, the end goal of all of this, the end goal of the analysis of developing an offer, the analysis of our market demand, pockets of opportunity, affordability, etc., needs to be a segue into a conversation about your offering, okay? So have a good think about, is there something that I could offer these businesses? Is there something that I could look at giving them content-driven, value-driven, for free, in exchange to segue into a conversation about my offering? All right, so let's just say again, using the reference of a paid advertising service, let's just say that you give them a guide with top 5 tips on paid advertising. All right, now if you give this to them for free, they're going to probably enjoy and absorb the content, but they don't actually have the expertise to implement the skill necessary to conduct this service. All right, so your segue into a conversation about your offering can be a large number of things. We're going to talk about this in the next slide over here. But for now, let's just have a think about your segue into a conversation about your offering. Is it something like a free guide where this could lead into a conversation about your expertise? Because the client or prospective client doesn't have the skill set to implement the service, they may ask you to come and do it for them. All right, so this is a segue into a conversation. So let's have a good think about that. Okay, now next up, we have acquiring the meeting and closing the client. One of my favorite parts to speak about with you, okay, because it's so important. So first of all, your incentivized offering to encourage meeting booking. All right, so now if we're looking at specifically a very, very effective way for digital agencies to speak to prospective clients and close those clients, become paying clients of the business, is to offer sales meetings. All right, now this incentivized offering would have to be something in it for the prospective client. It'd be very, very unlikely that you would begin to acquire sales meetings if you simply came forward and said, would you like to talk with me about buying my service? Okay, buying my service offering. It's probably just not going to happen. So you need to offer an incentive. You need to give an incentivized offering as to why they would begin speaking with you. Okay, so a sales meeting in your perspective will be something else beneficial for them in their perspective. So let's say, for example, you offer a free audit, a free consultation, a free strategy session, a free problem solving session, something of value to the prospective client to encourage them to come and speak to you. Now, of course, this meeting will take a natural transition into a sales meeting. All right, so just before we move on, very, very important to note this. When you're trying to get a meeting with someone to discuss the service that you offer, make sure that you're incentivizing it somehow by giving them something that they either couldn't get from someone else or that they could quite easily get from you. All right, so that can be a consultation, can be a free audit, problem solving session, strategy session, however you would like to position it. This is something that you can give to them that won't take up an awful lot of your time and aligns fairly easily with your skill set and your expertise. And then this can turn into a sales meeting after the initial value has been given. All right. Now, next up, acquiring the meeting and closing the client. Consider your platforms and how they correlate with your target market. All right. So if your target market is, say, ages 25 to 55, located in a local city of yours, now, this is something that you're going to have to consider, is that how do we get in front of these people? So taking into account your platforms and how they correlate with your target market, we have to assess where these people are going to spend most of their time. All right. So if we're looking at ages 25 to 55 that live locally, we could be looking at something such as social media, even deeper, we could look at Facebook. All right. So certainly, if we're looking at the local demographic, Facebook will give us the ability to target local people with paid advertising. Okay. So that's the first way we can get in front of our target market. The second way that we can get in front of them is very, very simple. People between the ages of 25 and 55 are most likely to be on social media, and especially Facebook. Facebook is the world's leading social media platform. Therefore, statistically speaking, most people are going to be on here. So if we're thinking about specifically how do we get in front of our target market, we have to consider our platforms that we use, and the platforms that we use are the stage in which we can get on to get in front of our clients, prospective clients at this stage. Okay. Now, the final component to consider, closing the client. Now, the methodology of the sales meeting is very, very important when it comes to this, okay? Because at this point, you've gotten in front of them by social media, for example. You have encouraged them with incentive to get onto the meeting. You're going to give them a free consultation as a thank you for showing up to your sales meeting, okay? The final part here to consider is the methodology of your sales meeting, all right? So this being said, let's talk very briefly about an effective way to run and close a sales meeting. When the meeting opens up, the first thing you should be looking to do is ask open-ended questions, okay? Open-ended questions can enter lengthy responses. If you get into lengthy responses from your client, you begin to not only build trust and rapport, but you begin to learn more about who this person is, what their business is like, and what you could potentially serve them with. Now, if you're entering a sales meeting, you might intend to sell them one service. However, after speaking with them further, you realize, actually, I could add in this upsell and I could offer them something else as well, because you have listened to what they need. Now, usually if you offer something like a consultation, the prospective client will spend good time talking to you about their business because they need help. Somebody who needs help will always share the problems that they have and the issues that they have because they want a solution, okay? So first things first, ask open-ended questions. Make sure that you're getting as much information from the prospective client as you possibly can throughout this sales meeting, because it will better inform you. People love talking about themselves, and you'll also gain valuable insights into how you can serve them further, as well as building trust and rapport. Okay, second thing you would like to do, give relentless value and content. Any opportunity that you see to add immense value to their lives and to their business, do so. If you see a room for education as an expert, if you see something that you can improve in their business, do not be afraid to share this with them. By doing this, you're sharing expertise. You're showing powerful interest in their business that will further encourage them to become a client of yours, because they can see that you care and they can see that you're an expert. Now, very, very finally, it is important to note that whilst you are both aware that at some point in time, this will become a sales meeting, it's important not to dive into financials and specifics of the service straight away, okay? If you're giving good value, you're asking open-ended questions, you're learning a lot about the client, you will begin to see that they will edge towards asking you about your service. Now, by all means, if they do not proactively ask you about the service offerings that you have or what you can do for them, then when it comes towards the end of the session, feel free to mention the services that you offer. But doing this early or too proactively, shall we say, so say, 5-10 minutes after the meeting begins, you start talking about your prices and what services you offer. This is far too soon. You haven't had an opportunity yet to build rapport or trust with the prospective client. And what we need as digital agency owners is to create that trust and rapport for a long-term working relationship. Okay, so it's very, very important that they begin to trust you on the initial sales call. Now, should this go well, the sales call goes well, everything goes well, by the end of the call, if they're saying to you, fantastic, sign me up, then you do not want to delay. Get your invoices sent out, get your onboarding process started, get your proposals written up, everything that you need to do, get going with that straight away, because what you need to strike whilst the iron is hot. A prospect can lose interest so quickly. So the quicker you get to serve this interest, the quicker you serve them with everything that they need to begin working with you, the better, all right? And the other way that a meeting might go is they might say, oh, I'm interested and it sounds okay, but I just need a bit of time to think, or I need to speak with a colleague or my partner about it, or I need to speak with my business partner, whoever it is that they want to talk to about it. Now, what this means in a nutshell is that they're not ready to buy from you because they either haven't seen enough value or they haven't seen enough future value in the service that you're going to offer, okay? So what you want to do is follow up with this almost immediately and say, okay, no problem. What I'm going to do is send you a bit of content. I'm going to send you a brochure that explains a bit more about my services, and that should give you a better informed decision on whether you would like to begin working with me or not. Okay. Now, I wouldn't suggest following this prospect for too long. You're trying to get the sale. I would send one final follow-up approximately 1 week after you've sent the brochure. And if they're still not coming back, then I would look to your pipeline and keep new prospects coming in all the time. So just whilst I finish up this presentation today, the most important piece of advice I can give you on sales meetings is make sure that you're having a lot of them. And in order to get a lot of them, you must be having continual prospects coming through your pipeline at all times. Okay, so once again, thank you very much for joining the presentation with us today. And as always, I have something to offer you for spending your valuable time with me today on this presentation, okay? What I would like you to do is discover this opportunity for yourself. Discover what it means to be a digital agency owner in 2021 for yourself, okay? And what we'd like to do is offer you a free complimentary call to find out about our all-in-one solution that we offer to partners, an incredibly effective number of tools that you can use to become a digital agency owner in this modern day. Okay, so if you were interested in that, the link below is iob-business.com/talk-to-us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this link up for you on the screen. It's an incredible conversation to have, very, very eye-opening, and I very, very much recommend that you go ahead and do this. It's not going to cost you anything. It's just going to take a little bit of your time for some immense value given. So I very much would recommend taking advantage of this offer that we have for you today. Okay, so that being said, I am going to jump over to the Q&A session. I'm going to leave this link up on the screen whilst we're running through our Q&A today. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time. And I have a couple of questions, which is fantastic. I always love answering these questions at the end of the session. So the first question that I have is an interesting one. How do I know who can and cannot afford my service? Okay, so we did cover that earlier on in the presentation in a bit of detail, and I like this question because it allows us to deep dive even further into that logic. All right, so if we refer back to the discussion when we said, okay, well, potentially a startup or individual entrepreneur could afford £100 a month service for paid advertising, but it would become difficult for them to begin affording a £500 a month service. Okay, my simple answer to how do I know who can and can't afford my service is by applying general logic. Okay, look at the size of the business, their current customer base, their following online, the price of the products that they sell, the industry that they operate in. Have a good look and do your own sort of market research on these types of businesses. And on, if you're considering a type of business specifically, have a look at the volume at which they sell their services or products. Have a look at how much their products cost. All right, so generally speaking, if they're, say, a personal trainer and they run one-to-one sessions and they have 10 to 15 of these a week and they offer them at 20 to 30 pounds an hour, their affordability is going to be okay. They could probably afford a paid advertising service between £200 and £300 a month, but nothing too significant. Say £1,000 a month would be very difficult to achieve for them at this point in time. Okay, so what I will do as well, I've just seen another question pop in there. Unfortunately, I can't actually, I'm having a bit of trouble reopening my Q&A box. If you could do me a huge favor and take it from the Q&A box, and if you could pop that into the little chat box for me instead, that would be very, very much appreciated. If you give me 1 second, I should be able to get that. So I'm going to run through another question that I have just now whilst I'm waiting on that other question we just had come in, just to let you know I have seen it and I will do my best to get to that question. The second question that I have today, how do I price my service based on personal workload? Okay, excellent, fantastic question. So my answer to this is ensure that you're being fair, okay? Now, ensure that you're being fair and you're assessing the industry, okay? Now, when I say assess the industry, I mean assess the affordability of your industry specifically, okay? Now, I always would recommend asserting an hourly value to your time in line with your expertise and your experience. This, of course, has to correlate with the affordability of your industry. So when it comes to pricing your workload, you've got to base it on a varying amount of things, okay? First of all, what is your cash flow necessity and how much would you have to charge in order to effectively offer this service and financially support yourself and be comfortable from that aspect? But you also have to consider the affordability within your industry. So if you're doing a quote and someone with a reasonable but not massive affordability comes over to you, then the first thing to do is calculate, well, how many hours is this going to take me to provide this service? And how much should I need to earn in order to exercise the full amount of this service and therefore support myself financially? And to that extent, you've also got to be somewhat reasonable and fair. So obviously never deliberately overcharge anyone. And if someone comes to you and you know that their affordability isn't great, you can either maybe suggest a slightly cheaper service or an alternative for them. Okay, so thank you very much for those questions. And thank you, Vivek, for passing that one into the chat box for me. Yes, you absolutely can talk to us before you do this. So if you would like to talk to us about this, please head to the link iob-business.com/talk-to-us. That's talk-to-us. If you head to this link that I have up on the screen just now, you can book in and have a good talk with us about how you can take advantage of this all-in-one solution and this opportunity for a digital agency. Okay, so fantastic. Thank you so much for your amazing questions. I'm going to leave the link up there for just another couple of minutes to let you take advantage of the link to see if you want to book any conversations with us. And we would love to speak with you. And thank you once again for taking the time to join us on today's presentation. It's been immensely valuable to present this to you, and I hope that it's been immensely valuable to you. If you do have any further questions, please do jump on this link and feel free to ask them to us at any time. All right, so as always, it's been a real pleasure. I look forward to speaking with you again in the very near future, and bye for now.